Sqlite and tkinter using a database with Python, and let's continue our code. Let's go where we were, and I think we were here. We we created we were organizing our code, and we got this sort of menu here, window menu, with a new window to create a database in which you can insert the name of a possible database. When you click the button, the database goes here, and then you get another window to create a table from this. For the moment, we have just the list of the database that we can use. So we are just reorganizing the old code that was, let me go for example here. Here is the, well, this is not the old code, but a possible way of finish or reorganizing this code. So, but we wanted to make it, I want to make you see how I did it. So now what we want to achieve from the original code that maybe we can see in here, that got all in one window, we want to split this into windows, the first one and the second one. And now what we have to do is to create a table. In SQL, you can create a table with this command that I'll make you see now. And let me create a new window that is practically create table with the name here, you know, like if there were book novels, and then you get a parenthesis, and into the parenthesis you write the fields, like it can be a need, that can be an integer, a name that could be text, and you know, the author of the book, that could be a text, and so on. And that could be all. And then you got to put also this thing here in SQL, because we are not in Python, we are using SQL. Now we got to use this in Python, and to make this we just have to use execute. So we are going to put this into a multi-line string like this, and then use execute into parentheses like this, and then we are going also to substitute this name, because we wanna make the user able to choose his name. So we don't want a fixed name but a variable name. And then we want also to substitute all these things with user choice. As we don't know how many fields it will use, I choose to give this just one variable that will be an array, a list. And so we will execute, but this execute must use a core.execute, as it will be into a class. It will be self.core execute, and self.core, what is it? This variable will be a self con.cursor, where you know that self.con is just our database that we obtain that with connect. Lite is the SQL3 module, and connect with our database that where we get the name of the database from dbn, that is a database name, get. Okay, what is dbn? I think we don't have the dbn yet here, and we must put it in here in the second window. The dbn, what we call dbn, is an entry with the database name. That is why I called it dbn, database name. And in the second window, we are going to put our database name. So that is an entry, and perhaps there will be also a label, and of course the relative string var. So let's do it, and let's define our database name that we'll put into the second window, just because it belongs just to the second window. We won't put it into the common code of the class win, because in win we just put the list box that is common to the win1 and the win2. So now let's do it, and this will go under this list box, what we are going to do now. So this is the, how can we call it, db database name. Okay, widgets. This is the widget for the database name, and we can call this, if we want to follow this rule, widgets tb. All right, let's follow the same rule that we, so the widget tb, I think here it is, the widget to create a new database. The widget tb is widgets to create tables. And so first of all, we will have a label for the table name. Okay, tk label self root. This is where the label belong, and then we have the text. Insert table name. Then we must show this with self lbtbn dot back, and then we have to show it. We gotta call it here with self widgets tb. That's all. There it is, insert table name. Now we want to put an entry plus the string var that goes with it. So the string var, we will call it self dot tbn or better string. Let me call it string of table. String of table name. Okay, that would be tk.string_var. As I told you before, this is a variable that is used by tkinter to trace, let's say so. If trace is a little different thing, we can say it's we can take a look at it in another post. I got just a post for this if you are curious. So this string here, var, this object goes together with self. Let me call this entry with the table name. Let's use longer name to be clear. tk.entry, always attach it to the root. We need no text here, we just need a text variable, right? The text variable is just this, the string tbn. So when we insert something into this entry, I got to put the self there because it belongs to the class. When we let me pack it, this one first, entry dot pack, to make it visible, as we always say. Okay, now we have the label and the entry. What does this okay, this get the text in the entry, so we remember and we understand. Okay, to inside of this we will have the text that we enter in the entry, and we must make a reference to this, but this won't return as the value. To have the value back, we got to do self string. Let me write it here. To get the value in the entry, we got to do self dot string tb name dot get, or self dot entry tbn dot get. We can do this to get the, so if you do a equals, in a there will be the text, or you can do so. If you want to clear the text into the entry, we got to do self dot string tbn with the two apostrophes. Okay, let me leave it this one here. So okay, create a table, insert table name. So when we put something here, to get what is inside of this, we have to use the name of the string var variable, or the name of the entry widget, with the dot and get. Now that we explain this, let's go on and we want to put a button here to, no, let's say we can do something like use a bin method so that sorry, we have to insert table name. We have to do something before we insert the table name. We have to insert the database, choose a database. Okay, we have to say choose a database. We have to, we can write it, but we can also do something else. We can just double click on the list box and okay, so let's go inside the list box. But if we, let me think, this is a common widget. If we make it here, well, let's do it and then let's see what happens. So self dot how do we call it? Let lb bind to make the double click. We call it double button here. Make do something. We got to attach a function here. We're gonna use a lambda function and an anonymous function, so we don't have to send it to another function, but we're gonna write here show, so we remind it to another function, show selection. So when we double click, it goes to show selection. Let me define show selection. Show selection always with self. We are in a class, so we need to use self. Okay, show selection. Show selection must put the name of the item that I choose into the other into the entry, so that we do not have to write it. So let's see if we have it here. So that we don't have to write it again, but maybe, okay, this is old, the first version, so there is not this show selection. There it is. And let me copy it and paste here and show it to you to see what happens when we double click. Okay, it happens that we memorize into X the current selection. So current selection give me the index of the item that I just clicked on. Let me do an example here. Let me convert all the tabs in space so that we don't have missing. So let me go here. When we click on this, the course selection method returns me 1. When I click here, the course selection method returns me 0. So this is course selection 0, course selection 1. So I can know what I selected. So the course selection, so this is the first item, and then the course selection I could print you Let me see if I can print so that you better understand. Maybe you understand yet, but let me, okay, let me go create it. Let me go here, it's the same. If I select, I got a yeah, I got a double select, and there is, even if there is an exception here because we have to change something, and the name of the, okay, we got, we don't have a number, we have a tuple with one number. So we got to have this 0 here, we got to do this. Okay, get just the first item. There is just one item, but as it is included in a tuple, we must get the first index 0, the index 0 of the item. Okay, so if I do now double click here, you see you get 0, just the number. Now let's correct this. We got lb dbn. This is the where the problem is. Database name, I think I changed this name because what does, okay, this takes this the number of the selection, and then get with get x, it this returns me the name of the item. Let me do it, print x. You see here there is software db, so I get the index. This is an integer index of current selection. This is the text of the current selection of the item in the list. Okay, and we print it. Now we want to write this name, for example, software of the database. We want to write it into the dbn. dbn is this entry. I gave it a different name from what I did before, and I call it entry dbn. So now the error was the fact that there was not a dbn widget object called, but it was entry dbn. Now it should work. Okay, as a no attribute set, I made a mistake. I explained before that you can set just the string tbn, not the entry tbn. It has not this method. So let's go here. We could implement this into why. Let's run it. Let's go. Now it works. You see, if you just double click, you get the name here. You don't have to write it. That's all this code is all about. But let me check one thing. If I do click here, let me put, what will happen? I will have a mistake because WinObject and no, because this window doesn't have this. Okay, you know, if I don't know if you are following me, but I think you are. If I click here in this window, the self data entry text variable here that makes the text go from here to here is in this window. In this window we don't have this entry, so it gives me an error because it says doesn't have string tbn. What we can do to solve this? We could, well, in theory, we could do win2.string to make it say change the name in the win2, but I don't think it works, because let me see if we get, it doesn't work because win2 is not good. Because this, perhaps this is not, we should because well, leave it this way. We could use the show selection just for the win2. Let me see if this works. And this is in the common window. We could do something different here and do nothing in here. So now let's run it. Let's go this should work. Let's go into this. Okay, here we don't do nothing, but we don't have any error because, okay, so I think this can be good. We can also make something, print this function here does not works. Here it works, and here it is. Here this function does not work, does anything, because this is not made for this but for this. Even if it is in common, the list box, and even if this is both of them got a double button and goes to this, in the first window it does nothing. In the second window it does something because it has this method inside of it, as you can see. So it overwrites this one, and so it does what it has to do just in the second window. We could also make something here to make something that is suitable for the first window, because the second window got its own method. It will override the default method here. But for now, I don't know what we can do with the double click. Maybe in the future, if we want to make the double click work also in the first window here, I don't know what we could do. We could open a window where you can see all the tables and the fields that is in here, maybe. Or we could also do something. We can make the second window to be open. We can do whatever we want. For now, let's leave it and let's go on. Now that we have fixed this this fact here. So we choose a database. After we choose a database, we're gonna create our table. We gotta hurry up because we're taking too much time. So we're gonna make the table. And you remember that we have this function to make the database. Now inside the second window we want to make the table, so let's use the same kind and they make database, so make table. It sounds right. Okay, create a new table with fields, of course. So you gotta give a name to the table. You gotta give then, as I showed you here at the beginning, let me go back to our code here. Do you remember here we got this, you create a database with self-con equalite.connect to the name of the database. Let's leave it. And then you create a cursor to start using executing the some SQL code. Okay, to use the SQL you first have to create this cursor that you memorize it into self.core. This is an instance, and then you go self.core, execute the code that, as I said, it is create table, and well, let me save this as sql.py so that we have some color. Okay, so self-cure execute, create table. Here we have the name, and here we have the fields. Then we will have here format with name and fields, something like this. So we have to create these two things here. Okay, now let's go and create our make table. Okay, so with the make table, first of all, we're gonna give a name to the fields. And this name must be in a, first of all, gotta put a label. Let me copy some code here so that we don't have to write everything. Let me put a table, a label. So we're gonna take a label, table name. Could it be, I have to change something here. This is not table name, but database name if we do not use it. But okay, it's not. No, we can. I think it goes right. Database name, database name, database name, and database name. Let me see if it works. If it goes some, makes some conflict. I think it's good. Okay. So db, perhaps. Database name, where it is. I must change the show selection here. Okay, and so here database name and database name. I think it should be good. Let me check again if there's some yes, there is some mistake. What it is? String tbn. Yes, because I forget to dbn here. Let me check again. String tbn, where is it? At line 96. Okay, we gotta change here too. Let me check again. Now it seems to work. So here instead we are going to do lb not database name, a table name. So we'll use tb as table name. Okay, and choose, not choose, but table, insert table name. We don't see it for some reason. We packed it. Okay, this is we don't want to call it this make table, but we want to call this widgets widget table. We call it here, so maybe we're gonna put it down here. Okay, maybe we should make something to understand what is what, but let's leave it for now like this. Insert table name. Now we need an entry. Let's use the same here. Let's make just some space. Insert table data. Name of table. So there is the table, and then we have the table name, that is the entry. We make it visible. We need also, as always, the string var here for this new table that we call tbn. Okay, and now we have in table name. We could also put the name instead of up onto, we could use some side here. Don't know if it will mess up everything. Side left, because maybe, you know, it messes up everything, because this is the entry. Because maybe I should use here a frame. It is going to complicate a little bit, but okay, we're gonna create a frame. We're gonna pack it. Let me call this one frame 1 equal tk.frame frame1.pack. Okay, and now we're gonna put this into frame 1, and this will be to the left, and this will be side equal left. Self. Okay, choose a database. So this is nicer, even if we have to create some other widgets, but we are going to copy this, so we will go faster. 2, 2, instead of root, frame2 dot back, right? Let me see what happens. Nothing, because let me copy this, cell left, create, no, not this. Here it is. Choose a database insert name. So we saved some space and it is more clear. Yeah, this is nice. We don't want that. It does that because maybe we have the same name here for dbn. Let me see, selection, string dbn, lb cross selection, lb.getX, show selection. Okay, this is the text, and then string dbn. There is the mistake here. We gotta call this tbn, okay, to differentiate it. Okay, now it's right, because we don't want a table name like that. Okay, the table name must be inserted by manually. Okay, let's go on. Maybe we're going to do in another post the fields insert, maybe. No, we can do it. Okay. Yeah. Now what we need the widgets for the fields. How do we call them? We can put them here, or we can put them in another area, another method, so that it's a little clearer. So let me call these widgets fields self. So we are going to put down here self widget fields, widgets fl, like fields, and there we the widgets for inserting to insert fields. Okay, let me write down these widgets. We could also copy that from what we just did. Let me check in the original code where we had just one. Okay, and this is the database name, table name. We did it. Now we need this label, this entry, and 2 buttons maybe. For now, maybe I want to change this. We could do something different here. Let me put just the label here, and let me copy, and we're gonna use another frame maybe 2. Okay, so let me copy frame and label here, and the frame will be the frame number 3, number 3, number 3, and this is the label, so insert the table fields, and here it is, just a label. Now make some color. Let me show how to put some color. lb bg, like background, equal gold, just to, well where I put this, lb lb dbn database name. We gotta change the name here. Field lbfl, fl like field, lb label. No, let me just L, because LB could be a list box. LFM gold. Okay, the field's name, so to make it a little bit nicer, I want to also put this into the into here. Yeah, well, for this thing we will spend some time later. So until now we got this table name, insert the fields, and what we want to use to insert the fields. To insert the fields, we could also use, instead of inserting each field, we could do this. As I said, we need to insert this thing here, create table names, for example, and then, as I said, the integer. So the name, this thing here, names, will go here. Okay, we're gonna choose the name of the software, we're gonna write names here, and then here we're gonna input the fields. So the fields, the integer, we could just write into a text, the integer name text, very simple, city, like a text, and that's all. So we could use a text here instead of what we did before in the previous code with just one window. So let's check if I remember how to make a text. So self dot text equal tk dot text. Let's put it into the frame tree. I don't think we don't wanna put it on the left frame tree, and well, let's leave it this way and let's see if we can show it. Self.frame3. Okay, here it is, the fields. What we want to do, we wanted to put in here id integer, instead of putting one by one and then pressing the table. That is, then I must remember what I inserted. So this is easier, I think. Name text, and then at the end, city text. Choose a database name, you put here software, and then you put here gains, author name, title. This is identification, the title, and author text. Then we should put a button down here to create our thing here. Let me copy a button somewhere. like this. So we go faster. So okay, let me call this button FL, like fields, button F, or even button table, because we are going to create the full table. Okay, create the table. Come on, make the table, make to be. So now we have to make the table self, and then we are gonna, as I said before, do a self.con equal light.connect with the database, where we are going to take the database in the database name here, in the string database name, maybe. How we call it? String dbn. Dot get. We are gonna change this if there is some mistake here. So the connection. Then we're gonna do the cursor. Always with self con dot cursor to start writing the code, and then self dot cur dot execute. Now we're gonna create table with the name, parentheses, go down here, close this thing, and put here the fields. So dot format. What we got to put in here is the name of the table. The table, we are going to take it from the table name, and I think it is string table name, self string table name, self dot string table name. Let me put a comma here, go here to be more clear, and then self. Now we need the fields here. For the fields, we have to get what is inside the text. So how do we get what's inside the text? We will see it in the next post. Okay, now if you we need another parenthesis here. Okay, but leave it this for now. If you see here the button, we must put it here into the widget self, and then okay, there is always this. Let me okay, if we go create a table, we can see the button here, but let me go here and change the width, the height to the maximum of 9. Now you can see the button create a table here. So let us finish. Okay, self.text, this is the text where the text is, .get, and then you have to write here 1.0 from 1.0 to and 1C, like this. Okay, now this will get all what is inside the text get and put it in here, and maybe it will make it all works. Let's go create a new database. Let's call it toys. Close this, open the table, choose the toys. Let's put it the table name nations, Marvel toys, let's say so. Then will be the ed integer for the code of each toy. Then we will have a name of a toy. It will be a text field, and then we will have the price of the toy. That will be an integer or a double, yeah. And without comma, let's create a table. There is no error, as you can see, so maybe this toy has these three fields inside. Let's close this and let's check if it is right with DB browser. That is a free software that allows you to browse into your SQL database, so with Python. And so let's go where I saved my file. Here it is, our toys database. Let's load it. You see, this is the table. We need to change this pyvar into the actual name, but you see there is the ed, the name, and the price. Okay, so it means that it worked. We created our fields in our table. We can create another table and so on, and we will see the rest of the code in the next post.